Washing the dishes, washing the mind. The bowl in your hands. There is a simple scene that many of us know well. We stand at a sink. Warm water fills the basin. Suds gather and drift. Plates wait in a small stack. Spoons rest in a cup. Outside the window, a tree moves in the wind, or a streetlight glows. In the background, the day hums. It is an ordinary moment by every measure, and yet here, Thích Nhất Hạnh says, we can meet the heart of spiritual practice. In The Miracle of Mindfulness, he writes that while washing the dishes, one should only be washing the dishes, which means to be completely aware that one is washing the dishes. He admits that this might seem a little silly at first glance, almost too simple to matter, but that is precisely the point. The fact that we are standing there and washing those bowls is a wondrous reality, and mindfulness restores that wonder. Most of the time, our minds are not in the kitchen with us. The body stands at the sink, but the mind is already on the couch with dessert, or at the desk with email, or back at lunch replaying a conversation. We treat dishwashing as the price of entry to the part of the evening we truly want. When that happens, we miss what Thích Nhất Hạnh calls our appointment with life. We live as if the minutes spent washing were disposable, something to be hurried through or traded away. But the sink is a threshold. As soon as we remember that we are actually here, hands in water, breath moving, light falling on foam, the texture of the world returns. He says in The Miracle of Mindfulness that each minute and each second can be a miracle, and mindfulness is the energy that calls our dispersed mind back to wholeness so we can live each minute of life. To let this land, pause and notice what your hands are doing. Feel the smooth curve of a bowl and the slickness of the soap. Notice the warmth as it climbs into your fingers and wrists. Hear the quiet sound of rinsing. Smell the simple, clean scent. Let the breath loosen into a slower rhythm without forcing it. There is no trick here, no secret mantra that unlocks hidden states. There is only contact with what is already true. Thích Nhất Hạnh says, in peace is every step, that when mind and body are together, we become fully present and fully alive in the here and now. Washing is not an obstacle to presence. Washing is one of the oldest doorways to it. When we touch the present this way, the feeling of poverty that often accompanies chores begins to dissolve. Poverty here does not mean lack of money. It means the sense that our life is always elsewhere, that meaning lives only in highlighted moments. Mindfulness replaces that poverty with sufficiency. It reveals that meaning is not a rare mineral to be mined, but a light shining through every ordinary act when awareness is present. Thích Nhất Hạnh says in The Miracle of Mindfulness that each thought, each action in the sunlight of awareness becomes sacred. In this light, he adds, there is no boundary between the sacred and the profane. The kitchen becomes a small temple, not because we decorate it with incense, but because we meet it with a steady attention that honors what is happening. This is why he can say, without irony, that enlightenment is not separate from washing the dishes or growing lettuce. He is not diminishing enlightenment. He is elevating our confidence in the present moment. If awakening is real, it must be available where we live, and where we live is here. Hands in warm water, the body finding its natural pace, the mind learning to rest in sensation rather than wandering in speculation. Every element needed for peace, breath, body, attention, compassion, is available at the sink. Means and end at the sink. We are trained to think in terms of means and ends. Dishes are washed so that plates will be clean. Floors are swept so that rooms will be tidy. Emails are answered so that the inbox will be clear. This logic is efficient, but it buries the living core of our hours. Thích Nhất Hạnh challenges this habit gently but firmly. In The Miracle of Mindfulness, he writes, We don't wash dishes to have clean dishes. We wash dishes to wash dishes. He does not mean we abandon cleanliness. He means we stop sacrificing the life of the present moment in order to reach a later moment we imagine will be more real. When we turn a necessary act into nothing more than a bridge to something else, we teach ourselves that life is always later. Later becomes a horizon that recedes as quickly as we approach it. The result is a lifetime of missing what is here. So he assigns a paradoxical task. Let dishwashing be both a means and an end. Yes, at the level of practical life, dishes will be cleaner when you are finished. But at the level of your being, the purpose of washing dishes is to have washed them with awareness, to live fully in each movement, the lift of a bowl, the circular motion of a palm, the clink of porcelain, the quiet turn of the tap, is to inhabit your life rather than postponing it. He writes that washing is at the same time a means and an end. Not only do we do the dishes in order to have clean dishes, we also do the dishes just to do the dishes, to be truly in touch with life. The difference shows itself immediately in the quality of your evening. If you rush through the sink to get to dessert, he says, the time of washing will be unpleasant and not worth living, and you will likely be incapable of enjoying the dessert because your mind, trained to rush, will be hurrying you along to the next thing. If instead you wash so that you can wash, you are present for the only time you can ever enjoy anything, the now. Then dessert is dessert, not a consolation prize after drudgery. This is why he can say that the time of dishwashing is as important as the time of sitting meditation or walking meditation. Practice is not an hour carved from the day, it is the spirit with which we meet the day. He offers a simple gatha to remind us of this. Washing the dishes is like bathing a baby Buddha. The profane is the sacred. Everyday mind is Buddha's mind. In the miracle of mindfulness, he speaks of washing every bowl as if you are bathing a baby, breathing in, feeling joy, breathing out, smiling. The image is playful and tender, yet it carries a serious instruction. When you wash as if the bowl were the baby Buddha, you cannot rush. You cannot throw the bowl from hand to hand. You cannot scold the water for being water. You must slow down enough to feel what you are touching, to see what is in your hands, to protect what you are caring for. The bowl receives your full attention. Your attention receives the bowl. The separation collapses. What remains is care, and care, offered again and again in small acts, becomes a character. In this way, dishwashing trains more than attention. It trains love. To love is to value. When you value the life in front of you, the small life of one dish, one breath, one gesture, you strengthen the capacity to value larger lives when they ask for your presence. You become the sort of person who can listen to someone you care about without impatience, because listening at the sink has become a way of being, not a performance. You become the sort of person who can meet a hard day without collapsing because you have practiced meeting small resistances with patience. The sink is not a stage for drama, it is a school for human goodness. Water, warmth, and the sacred ordinary. Sometimes the mind resists all this by saying, "But I dislike doing dishes." Thích Nhất Hạnh addresses this directly. He says that the idea that dishwashing is unpleasant can occur only when you aren't doing it. Once you are actually standing at the sink with your sleeves rolled up and your hands in warm water, it is really quite pleasant. He speaks from lived experience. If you take your time with each dish, being fully aware of the dish, the water, and each movement of your hands, you may notice that both the dishes themselves and the fact that you are here washing them are miracles. That word, miracle, is important. He uses it not to inflate our sense of achievement, but to deflate our habit of indifference. A miracle is what we call something when contact is restored. There is a quiet science underneath this poetry. When we bring attention to the senses, the nervous system registers safety. The breath deepens almost by itself. The heart rate eases. Muscles, especially in the jaw and shoulders, begin to release their grip. The mind is no longer chasing projections. It is anchored in what is real. This is not denial of the world's pains. It is a way to be strong enough to face them. Washing a plate with a warm, steady breath will not solve a political crisis, but it will help solve the inner crisis of being perpetually absent from your life. And a human being who is less absent is more able to serve. There is also a theological sweetness to this practice that bridges traditions. In Christian language, to do a small act with care is to offer it as prayer. In Jewish language, washing can be seen as an act of sanctifying the everyday, making the mundane holy. In Zen, as Thich Nhat Hanh emphasizes, the everyday mind is the Buddha's mind, which is to say that reality as it is, water, porcelain, breath, light, is where awakening appears. Every tradition that honors the sacred roots that reverence in embodied attention. He is not asking us to believe an idea. He is asking us to touch what is in our hands and discover for ourselves that reverence is a way of seeing. Because washing is tactile, it also teaches proportion. We learn to notice how much pressure is enough, how much soap is needed, how much water to use. This sense of just enough, what Buddhism calls santosa in some streams, contentment, extends beyond the sink. It influences how much we speak and how much we listen, how much we buy and how much we save, how much we push and how much we rest. A person who knows what is enough at the sink is more likely to know what is enough in a store, in a meeting, in an argument. Thich Nhat Hanh says in The Miracle of Mindfulness that with mindfulness and concentration, everything becomes spiritual, including sweeping the floor, watering the vegetables, and washing the dishes. The spirit he points to is not extraordinary. It is the spirit of proportion and presence. At times, washing will bring up resistance or irritation. Perhaps you feel others have left you to it, or you resent the repetition. Mindfulness does not demand that you pretend to enjoy what you do not enjoy. It asks you to notice the reaction as part of the field of experience. You can breathe with the irritation as you would breathe with the warmth of the water. You can feel the tightening in the throat or the belly. Name it softly, annoyance, and let the breath meet it. As you do, the feeling shows itself to be a movement of energy rather than a fixed identity. You are not an irritated person. You are a person feeling irritation that rises and passes. This difference is liberating. It lets you keep washing without either suppressing the truth or being consumed by it. And sometimes, as you attend, gratitude appears on its own. You realize that water arrives when you turn a handle. You notice the gift of functioning hands. You remember that someone raised the food you ate. You feel the old fatigue in your shoulders and thank your body for carrying you through the day. Gratitude, like the warmth in the basin, spreads. It does not make you sentimental. It makes you sturdy. A grateful heart is less likely to rush because it has fewer reasons to flee the moment it is in. Training. Attention at the sink. Because dishwashing is repetitive, it is an excellent place to train attention. Repetition reveals habits. If you watch yourself for a few evenings, you will see patterns. The moment your mind leaps ahead to the couch, the way your breath shortens when you think about work, the tendency to tighten your jaw when a pot needs extra scrubbing. The sink becomes a mirror. Thich Nhat Hanh says in The Miracle of Mindfulness that with mindfulness and concentration, everything we do becomes practice. And practice means learning how we actually live so that we can live more freely. A simple training that he teaches begins and ends with breath. Before you touch a dish, let one breath arrive and one breath leave. Feel the feet on the floor, the spine lengthening just enough to be dignified without being stiff. Then pick up one bowl. As you wash, stay with the feeling of contact, bowl to palm, palm to water. If thoughts arise, let them be like birds that pass across a sky. You see them and return to the bowl. When you rinse, feel the change in texture from soapy to clean. When you place the bowl to dry, hear the small sound it makes. Then pause again for one breath before you touch the next dish. These pauses are not interruptions. They are the punctuation that lets the sentence of your evening be understood. If you want a companion for the mind while you wash, Thích Nhất Hạnh offers many gathas. One that suits the sink is the same he shares for walking. In, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. Quietly pairing these words with breath and movement gives the mind enough to do so that it does not grasp at worries. You do not force the words. You let them float like a small raft that carries you across the river of habit. If you prefer, you can use the baby Buddha image from the Miracle of Mindfulness. Wash every bowl as if you are bathing a newborn Buddha, breathing in, feeling joy, breathing out, smiling. The metaphor is not about importing religion into your kitchen. It is about importing care. He also shares, with Zen humor, the spirit behind a classic exchange. A teacher might ask, "Did you have breakfast?" And when the student says yes, the teacher replies, "Then go wash the dishes." The point is not cleverness, it is immediacy. Have you lived the act you just finished? Then live the next act fully. Do not wander off to find meaning somewhere far away. Wash your breakfast bowl. Many of us have spent years seeking our life in abstraction. This simple sentence sends us back to where our life is actually unfolding. In that way, the sink becomes a refuge from the temptation to postpone existence. As attention strengthens, you may be surprised to notice how the rest of your day changes. The same mind that can stay with the feeling of a bowl can stay with the feeling of a conversation. The same breath that slows enough to wash can slow enough to hear a child's story without finishing their sentences. The same patience that softens at the sink can soften in traffic, at the grocery store, in a meeting. Thích Nhất Hạnh says in The Miracle of Mindfulness that the mindfulness and concentration we generate in daily actions help the seeds of understanding and compassion to grow. The sink is one of the places where those seeds are watered. Of course, there will be nights when the mind is loud or the body is tired. This is part of training. On those nights, reduce the ambition and increase the tenderness. Wash 2 dishes with full attention and let that be enough. Or bring a gentle half smile to the corners of your mouth and let the smile be the practice while your hands move in a quieter background of awareness. He emphasizes in How to Sit that practice should be enjoyable, otherwise it will not be sustainable. The aim is not to become a perfect monk in your kitchen. The aim is to be more present and more kind. If washing with full attention for 5 minutes brings more kindness to the rest of your evening, it has done its work. The dish as Dharma, the kitchen as temple. When Thích Nhất Hạnh says that sweeping the floor, watering the vegetables, and washing the dishes become holy and sacred if mindfulness is there, he is not being romantic. He is pointing to the deepest structure of the path. The path is not a separate road we one day find outside our life. The path is the way we walk through the life we already have. If you can learn to bring attention, steadiness, and love to a sink full of dishes, you can bring them to a sickbed, a courthouse, a classroom, a voting booth, or a bedside where someone is breathing their last. Practice in small spaces prepares the heart for large spaces. He also insists that when we wash dishes, we are learning a way of time. We are training ourselves not to live only for the next episode, the next reward, the next appointment. We are declaring that now is worthy of our full face. That declaration has moral and political weight. A person who believes that now matters is less likely to sacrifice the living earth for a profit that never arrives. A person who can find meaning in attending to the dish in front of them will be less vulnerable to the promise that meaning lives only in the next purchase, the next title, the next victory. In this sense, washing dishes mindfully is a modest act of resistance to the culture of elsewhere. Thich Nhat Hanh says, "In peace is every step that practice prints peace and serenity on the earth with every step, and by extension, with every act." The kitchen can be one of the places where we print peace. The sink is also a school of equality. Each bowl I wash, each poem I compose, each time I invite a bell to sound is a miracle, and each has exactly the same value, he writes in The Miracle of Mindfulness. This does not mean there is no difference between washing and writing. It means that the value of your life is not measured by the glamour of the activity, but by the depth of presence you bring to it. When you treat the bowl and the poem with equal care, you are training a humility that is strong enough to meet both praise and blame without losing the center. This is freedom. You are no longer a slave to the hierarchy of tasks. You are a citizen of the present. Some evenings, washing will feel like true worship, not because you have built a shrine of soap and porcelain, but because you have let gratitude and attention turn the kitchen into a sanctuary. You will notice that you are calmer when you dry your hands. You will feel the evening receive you instead of demand that you perform. You will sit with tea and actually taste it because you did not trade your attention away while you were at the sink. The aliveness you cultivated there will follow you to the next chair. Thich Nhat Hanh says in Peace is every step that if we rush through washing, we will rush through tea. If we wash in mindfulness, we can sit and drink in mindfulness. The way we do one thing reveals the way we will do the next thing and the thing after that. This is why a sink can remake a life. At other times, washing will be ordinary. Nothing special will happen. You will simply wash plates and put them on the rack. In a way, these evenings are the most important because they teach that practice does not depend on a feeling of inspiration. Practice depends on willingness. The willingness is to be here, to breathe and notice, to care for what is in your hands, to learn the art of doing one thing for its own sake, to discover that such doing is already rest, already prayer, already a small transformation of the world. If a chapter could leave a single sentence in your body, let it be the one Thich Nhat Hanh offers again and again, expressed in the language of the sink. Wash the dishes to wash the dishes. When you remember, the water warms you, the breath steadies you, the mind returns, and the world becomes intimate again. Then the line between the sacred and the ordinary vanishes not by argument, but by touch. The kitchen becomes a temple, the bowl becomes a bell, and the quiet that rises in you becomes a gift you carry back to those you love. To close, imagine the last plate in your hands. Feel its weight. Rinse it slowly. Place it carefully to dry. Turn off the tap and listen to the sound of stillness that follows. This is the silence after a chant. This is the pause after a bow. This is the space where gratitude gathers. Thich Nhat Hanh says in The Miracle of Mindfulness that when we bathe a baby Buddha, we breathe in and feel joy. We breathe out and smile. Tonight, the baby Buddha is a plate. The temple is your kitchen. The liturgy is your breath. The congregation is everything that has touched this bowl. The farmer, the cook, the friend who ate with you, the hands that molded the clay, the sun that warmed the field. You are not merely clean, you are in communion. And tomorrow, when there are dishes again, as there will be in every real life, you will have another chance to practice. This is very good news. The path is not hidden. It is stacked by the sink, waiting for your hands.